Help me to give a warm welcome to our next guest, Mr. Justin Alfred. Mr. Alfred is currently the senior pastor of Brookfield Missionary Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. From all accounts, he has been an adopted member of my family,
All
even
right.
before even before my parents met and long before I was born. I think of him as a true Renaissance man. He has expertise in several different areas, including music, theology, mental health, law enforcement, and real estate. Let's give a warm welcome and say thank you for joining us, Mr. Alfred. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for asking.
Good, and thank you for being with us today. So recently we had a program where we discussed changing careers, and Mr. Alfred has done just that. He is an expert in several different areas, and we're very happy that he's joining us today. So for our audience to get to know you just a little bit better, let us know where you were born and raised, where do you currently reside, and what does life look like for you at this moment?
I am from a small southern village in Dominica called Grand Bay. Some of you know it as South City. I was born there, but I was raised by my grandmother in Massac, a little part of Massac further up in the hills of Massac called Samuel. If you know Dominica, it's after Subuli. We lived there for a while until 1966 when my grandfather became ill and we moved to Roseau. And I spent from 1966 to 1971 with my grandmother in Roseau, and before moving to go to school in St. Thomas Virgin Islands first, and then to Jamaica Bible College in 1972.
Good. And where do you currently reside?
I am currently living in Houston, Texas. Actually, it's on the outskirts of Houston, Missouri City. It's about 22 miles south of Houston. And we've been here since 1984.
Oh, a long time. And what does life currently look like for you in terms of work, family life?
Well, it looks good. I have retired from my other profession and currently pastoring a church here in Houston, Texas. I've paid my dues, and now I'm just enjoying life and ministering to folks as necessary.
Good, good, good. So tell us some early challenges you faced early in your life.
Well, when you grow up in an island where your parents are not together, it was pretty much challenging to determine who you should listen to. My grandmother tried her best to do everything she could to help me to become established, but it was challenging because I had the desire for my mother to be around, but she was overseas working. When she left Dominica, she went to Aruba and lived there most of her life until she passed away in 2003. But my grandmother pretty much raised me, and she did the best she could. But there was a need within me to do better and to try to make somebody of myself. I saw examples around me that I did not want to emulate at all. And I decided early in my life that I was not going to be like the ones around me, specifically my uncles. And so with the help of God, I gave my life to Christ at age 16. And from that point on, he just started opening doors for me to achieve that purpose, which I had in mind. Yes.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your journey out of Dominica. How were you able to go from Dominica to the USVI and Jamaica?
Well, it's strange. You know, when I was young, I used to look at those tourist coming to the islands. For some reason, I was wishing that one day one of them would take me on that big old boat. But strangely enough, there was a missionary lady from California, her name was Miss Evelyn Fuqua. She came to Dominica and spent some time there, and she led me to knowing Christ as personal savior. And strangely enough, she knew I had a gift of singing. I had been singing calypso in Dominica as junior calypso, the Lord Tiger. And she saw the gifting in me, and she started coaching me to sing church songs. And through her directives, I was able to leave Dominica shortly thereafter and go to St. Thomas to a small Bible school there. And from there, I was accepted to Jamaica Bible College in 1972 and proceeded to go to Bible College for 4 years in Jamaica.
Now, what was that transition like for you, going from Dominica to the USVI to Jamaica? What was your experience like?
It was very challenging because you go to an environment where you know nobody, and you have to learn the new culture and not too many friends around. So I missed Dominica very much. It took a while to adapt and to adjust, but once I started meeting people and getting to know them, then it made the transition pretty much smoother. But St. Thomas was not the ultimate goal. I wanted to go further than that, so I was able to get accepted to Jamaica. And at 17, I left St. Thomas, went back to Dominica, and took one of the boats that used to travel the islands. And for 7 days, just me and not knowing anybody on the boat, I was on my way to Jamaica. I had an address where I was going to, and I was able to get there 7 days later, which was very challenging.
That's amazing. So it seems like you've had quite a journey with regards to different careers and different fields of interest. Why would you say you've made so many changes along the way?
Well, when I was much younger, I was asked, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a teacher. But for some reason, when theology came into the picture, I thought, well, I need to get ready to go into doing ministry where I could help people. So I went into the Bible college, and after I was through with that, I went to Aruba and spent some time there and taught there for a little while, and was seeking to see which direction God would have me to go. I had been singing along the way and preaching. And so, once I got established, I eventually went back to the Virgin Islands and got married, and then I realized, well, just preaching may not be enough to help me raise a family.
Right.
So I had to find another career where I could make some money along with doing the things of God in the church. So I chose to do social work at first, and then eventually branch off to into psychology. But actually, I had an opportunity which I went into law for a while, and then I realized well, that was not my calling. So I gave it up, and then eventually landed into psychology, which I felt went along well with my calling to ministry.
And it just seems like a lot of people have this fear of change, that even if they may not be making the level of income, let's say, that they desire, they are so fearful of taking a leap of faith and, pretty much starting all over again in a new career. So what would you say to someone who has that fear?
Well, there's a lot out there that could be challenging, but if you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. You don't have to, if you're not happy in one area, allow yourself the opportunity, because if you don't, you look back and ask yourself, well, I should have done that. You don't want to have regrets as you go along. If you're not happy with one area, then especially if you're in the United States where there are so many doors open, I would caution one though that, I would advise you to, if at all possible, find the passion, find your passion, whatever you're passionate about, go after it. Now, for some people, they might know it from the time they were a kid that I want to be a doctor, I want to be a social worker, I want to be a psychologist, and they pursue that wholeheartedly. At some point, you might not be happy with it. And then if you have health and strength and energy, you should allow yourself to pursue that other phase of life career that you would really like to explore, especially if your goal is to try to not just to make money, but to be an advocate for people and who one who would be able to help other folks who may be less fortunate than you are.
Mm-hmm. And I think I can certainly see your passion, and that is helping people, because even from looking at the different careers that you've had, they all somehow involve uplifting people through music and theology, and also helping people through psychology, through law, and through being a pastor at a church. Now, what would you say keeps you motivated? You know, when you switch careers, it is sometimes so difficult to start all over again. But what would you say has been a source of strength for you in terms of keeping you motivated with the new career that you were starting?
Well, ultimately, it is to find the satisfaction in what I'm passionate about. You might say in some of the areas I've been into, they have not been very lucrative as such, but it's not about, for me, it was not just about making money. Mm-hmm. It was about that gratification that you get when you can see a broken family can get back together. Somebody was on the wrong path. You redirected him or her to where he or she finds a sense of purpose and direction in his life. That brought me satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. So if you're just joining us, we're speaking to Mr. Justin Alfred. He's the senior pastor at Brookfield Missionary Baptist Church in Houston, Texas, and he has expertise in several areas. So we're having a conversation about what it takes to move from one career to the next, and how within doing all of that, he was able to find his passion for helping people. So now, in your role as senior pastor at the church, and with all this talk about coronavirus, has that impacted your operations at the church?
Oh, most definitely. We had to make some adjustments, and we did that very quickly, not knowing how long this was going to be around. And we met and decided that the best thing would be to discontinue meeting at that location, at the church building. But the church never closed, because the church is the people. Mm-hmm. And what I did, although we were not having service on Sundays, I would go there by myself every Sunday morning and utilize YouTube, not YouTube, but Facebook Live, and was able to stream the service and the sermon. I pretty much did everything by myself.
Wow.
To allow the families to be home and to still feel like they're in church. We've had Lord's Supper on first Sundays, and we'd invite them to go to the refrigerator and take their bread and wine or juice and participate in the Lord's Supper. So we kept church going even while we were not meeting together. We'd rather be fellowshipping with each other, but we realized very rapidly that it was a dangerous thing to do. Right. And so we chose the other option, and it worked out very well.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was an opportunity for all your skill sets to come into play, because you're a pastor, you can do the music, you can sing. So
it worked out.
You're a one-man show.
It was working out, yes, indeed. And as a matter of fact, I enjoyed it because it was worth it for me. I'm glad also we did that when we did, because Easter Sunday, the Friday before Easter, one of the brothers called and said that if we are in church, and I said, well, no, we're not, because of the corona stuff, and we are not going to meet until we are authorized to do so. Mm-hmm. And strangely, the following week, I got a call that he came down ill with the illness.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he did.
Oh my!
He survived, thank God. He survived.
Okay, thank God.
He's doing very well. But we just looked at it and said, wow, we are happy that we did not stop, or we did not continue with service for that one reason.
Yeah, certainly, because he could have spread it to other people as well.
Of course. of course.
Yeah. So now let's go back to talking about your various fields of expertise. So one of the things that I remind people of is that even if you're starting in a new career field, you have what are called transferable skills. That is skills that you can take from your previous job into your new job. Now, did that play a significant role for you? Were you able to use some of the skills from a previous job into your new career? What is your experience with that?
Well, of course. Having started off with theology, everything else, like and social work, you build from one thing to another. It's all about people. When I pursued law, it was about people. When I went into psychology, it was pretty much getting a rounded base of knowledge where I could reach out to people, communicate with them, try to redirect them, try to help them to find themselves. So yes, each of those things worked out pretty well. And for many years, apart from all of these things, I was doing real estate on a part-time basis for 25, 30 years.
Wow.
And, you know, with that, well, the skills in counseling and psychology and knowledge of law, it allowed me to be able to be effective in helping people find what it is that they were looking for. There are some folks in real estate, they're not decided, they just want you to show them around. But if you're able to figure out where they're coming from, how prepared they are, how motivated they are, then that allowed me to not waste too much time with showing property, but trying to prepare them to get a mindset where they will understand that, okay, this is what you need to do before you can get me to go with you to see anything. And having that well-grounded background, I was able to weed out certain folks and pretty much help them to understand what it is that they want to do and prepare them for making that ultimate decision. Because buying a property or house or whatever, it's a big decision. And sometimes folks just want to test the waters, but in a profession like that, you don't have time to waste on doing that thing, but you have to help them understand, listen, if these are the things that you must do as prerequisites to this next step, I need for you to go ahead and do these things first, and then we can talk.
Right. Like
getting pre-qualified and being sure that you have enough income that will help you to support that property. If it's in the right neighborhood for you, you have to be able to decide where you want to go before we start even looking. So knowing all of the different things, it helped me to direct folks and help them to come to a better understanding as to what it is they really want for themselves.
Right. Okay, so now I have a case scenario for you. So let's pretend I am someone who's interested in going from law enforcement or maybe mental health like you did, and I want to get into real estate. What would you say to me to keep in mind as I'm making this change? Because I think a lot of times when people change careers, they want immediate success, right? They want to jump in and make the big money. You know, they hear real estate makes a lot of money, so I'm just going to jump into real estate and I'm going to be successful, 6-figure salary off the bat. What would you say to folks to keep in mind as they try to transition, like you did, supposedly so seamlessly, from one career track to another?
You have to know what it is what motivates you. Why are you trying to go from one thing to another? Is it for money? Is it because you want to help others? Is it because you want to start a new family? But just be motivated to the point where you know exactly why you are doing it, what motivates you to want to do that. Whatever the motivation is, you'll have the passion for it. If you have the passion for whatever it is and you can multitask, and you're a person who can manage time very well, you should be able to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. You cannot just drop one and go to the other and think, well, I'm going to try this and see what happens. It's not a matter of seeing what happens. You can plan ahead, prepare yourself for that next phase. Do some research about that field that you are looking into. See what are the pros and cons and how could it meet the need that you have. Because if you're searching for something, you don't find it in one area, you might find it in the other. But you need to be aware as to what it is you really want. What motivates you? Am I able to manage my time? Can I handle these two things simultaneously, or do I have to completely move from one and cling to the other? But your personal motivation is what will determine how far you get into that field.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I would also add to that, being patient as well. Being patient as well, because it's an investment in time.
Correct.
Yeah.
You don't go from one thing to another expecting that within 6 to 8 months you will be rich. No.
Right, because you hear these stories about people just quitting their jobs, they have a family to support, and they're off to the next thing without even knowing if or not it's going to be successful. So I think that is some great advice.
And don't leave one thing completely and jump to another without knowing for sure that is what you want. Because if you can test the waters and then get yourself into a situation where, okay, there's a better offer over here. I may need to do some more research, homework to be able to get into that. So hold on to what you have as you prepare yourself for the next one. It's a transition. And you jump from one to another, and you have not solidified yourself in that new avenue, then you might end up going bankrupt or broke.
And it's so interesting because, you know, as I continue to do this interview, like certain themes show up, and one of them is pursue your passion. Right. And the other one is do your homework, do the research. Correct. To make sure that you're making the correct changes that you are thinking of making in your life. So as we get ready to wrap up, if there were 3 main points you would want to leave our listeners with, what would you say?
Well, in this life, there are many challenges. And if you are fortunate enough to have the blessings of God in your life, that with health and strength and sound mind, you should pursue your passion. Determine what it is that you're passionate after. Be certain to be someone who can manage your time properly. And consider how your decisions will affect not just you, but your family. Many folks do things just for self-gratification, but if you can consider your family in everything you do, then it should make it easier for you to pursue the things that you really want to do. Because when you're young, it's just you. Nobody's, you know, if you're going solo, it might be easier for you. Or if you have a family, then you should not just go from one thing to another and not knowing for sure what you're getting into. You have to be aware that your passion should lead you to whatever it is that is calling you to pursue. So be very much aware of that.
Mm-hmm. So I think that you're saying that even with the family, you still have the right to pursue your passion, but you just want to be a little bit more cautious because it's not only you. The decisions that you're making are going to impact the lives of the people that you're responsible for.
Most definitely.
Yep, good. So as we wrap up, I want to give you an opportunity to tell us what you're working on. It seems like you've had so many careers. So if you want to tell us more about your church, more about your real estate practice, if we would like to get in touch with you, if you have a website, how might listeners reach you, whether in the Houston area or beyond?
Well, my license is for Texas. If you are planning to move to Houston, you could reach me at phone number, I guess?
Yes.
281-546-0560 or at alfredj54@gmail.com. That is if you are interested in buying property or selling property here in Houston. And if you are coming from out of town, or you live in Houston and you'd like to join us at Brookfield Missionary Baptist Church, we are at 5706 Brookfield Lane, Houston, Texas, 77085. And we meet on Sundays and Wednesdays. We are not meeting on Wednesdays yet because of the corona, but we have resumed church services, social distancing, of course, and very few people at a time. So we'll welcome you. Houston is a very beautiful place.
Yes, it is.
It is. A few folks have moved here from Dominica and from New York, and they were linked with us, and then now are members of the church, and I was able to help them find a place to reside. Yeah. So if you get to know me, then you have a good resource base, most definitely.
And are you still conducting the Facebook portion of the service, or have you discontinued that?
No, every Sunday, 11 o'clock.
Okay, and what if we wanted to find you on Facebook, how would we do that?
Justin Alfred. That's under my name, Justin Alfred.
Oh, so the service is broadcast under your name, not under the church's name?
Correct. We are working on the website right now because I just started there a couple of years ago, and we are working on the website, and that at some point I'll announce the website and the different ways they can reach us. Yes. Okay,
perfect. So what I'll do, I'll find you on Facebook and I'll link it in my email. In my website on Push Past 10, so that if people want to follow you on Facebook for the services, and if they're in the area, then they can come and visit with you and fellowship with you.
Yes, and many folks have been tuning in from Aruba, New York, California, Europe. So it's a good medium.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, it is. It is.
So the one thing that comes in mind is that it looks like you've done a complete 360, because you started with theology and music, you went all around the world, and you came back to theology and music in this career that you're now pursuing. What are your thoughts on that?
That was my primary passion, to be full-time in a church. But politics get into religion, and sometimes it doesn't allow you to do what you want to do, because you have to go through certain arenas of and some folks, because of, I suspected, their lack of self-esteem, they would not allow you to step up as your talent allows you to. So it was challenging. But now, having done all the things I did, I said, God has given me the strength to be able to continue singing, and I've written quite a few songs, and continue to do what I believe I was called to do, that is to minister His word to the general public. Yes, it is a full 360.
And I can certainly attest to your singing ability, because I want to publicly thank you for singing at my wedding.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And
so maybe somebody might be looking for a wedding singer in the Houston area, because we have listeners from all over the world, including Houston. So if someone is looking for a wedding singer, then I would highly recommend you.
And you heard the 2 songs that I wrote for my daughter's wedding.
Yes. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. And I think the lesson we can also learn from your experiences is that knowing your passion early is important. But even when you have to defer your ability to pursue your passion, that you still keep it in mind, and at some point you will get back to that passion.
Yes, and all the things I experimented with, and they worked well for me. And all along, I still did what I really felt I should have been doing despite the obstacles. And ultimately, God opened doors that led me to where I am today. So in my retirement, I have retired from working in the public, but I am still doing God's work, which is what I really started off to do. Some folks started off and they go directly into it all of their lives. I did it in a different way. I was able to do groups at churches like grief recovery, and quite a few drug addiction classes. So all of the experiences I had, I was able to put them together, even within the church. Although I was not one of the pastors of those churches, but I was able to hold groups and have meet the needs of quite a few people. Even now, after 12 years of doing those groups, people are still calling me to do one-on-one with them. So when you think it was wasted, it's not, because quite a few folks I have dealt with, they still find me on Facebook or call me and thank me for the things that I did for them and their family. So it was a worthwhile journey.
Mhm.
And now that I'm full-time at the church, I'm doing what I believe God called me to do. That is to share His word and His truth to different families as best as He has allowed me to do it.
Well, I certainly thank you for being with us and for being such an inspiration, because I think a lot of times as we get older, we start putting so many limits on ourselves that, at this point, it's we don't want to start over, we don't want to try something new. But you're showing us that, you just move towards the next thing. As long as you're willing to learn, you're willing to grow, you're willing to take the experiences that you've had and integrate them into a new career, a new passion, a new project, then that's what we should be focused on. So I truly thank you. I'm truly thankful for you being with us today.
Yes, well, I enjoyed the experience. There's a lot more to talk about, but we realize the time is limited. I thank you very much, Simone, for inviting me to share with your audience.
Yes.
And I would encourage them to, as they pursue their careers, that they should always remember, put God first, and He will direct you. We might think that God is just a thing for Sunday or a person or a spirit of convenience. We should never see Him as just for convenience. When I need Him, I call Him. No.
Mm-hmm.
If you put God first, if He says, seek you first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. And there's a verse that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him and He will direct your path. It doesn't mean that you sit down and wait on God. It means that you do what you think God is calling you to do, and He will show you which direction to go with that passion which you have.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all your experiences with us. And we look forward to having you on maybe some other point where we can delve even more into your experiences and we can share and learn from you. So once again, thank you for being with us.
You're welcome, Simone.
And have a great evening.
All righty. God bless you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.